So those phytoplanktons means those microscopic aquatic plants freely floating on the surface of water. So, and they will be producing their own food. That is why we used to also, you can say, producers. And which aquatic animals freely floating on water and they are not having capacity to produce their own food. So that is what we used to call it as zooplanktons. So the examples of zooplanktons you can take. What is that? Protozoa you can take. So these are the examples of freely floating protozoas or examples of zooplanktons. So they are very, very, even including if you take a very, very small fish, extremely small fish, also we used to call it as very, very small fish is also we used to say example of zooplanktons. So these planktons float near the surface of water and they will provide food for many big fish and as well as other aquatic animals. Both this algae and as well as the small, means both phytoplanktons and zooplanktons, they will be floating on the surface of water and they will become the food for many big fish and as well as other aquatic animals. So this is only we used to call it as planktons and the types of planktons. So anybody wants definition, I will say you can write 3 definitions. One is planktons and the category of planktons, that is phytoplanktons and as well as zooplanktons. Clear? Have you understand, Arvind? Bhumika? That is. So first of all, right, you can say planktons. Planktons are very minute. Planktons are very minute or microscopic organisms. Planktons are very minute or microscopic organisms. Planktons are very minute or microscopic organisms freely floating on the surface of water. Freely floating on the surface of water. Freely floating on the surface of water. Surface of water. Completed. Planktons are classified into 2 types. Planktons are classified into 2 types. One is first one. What is the first one, Ra? What is the first one, guys? Phytoplanktons, and the second one is zooplanktons. Phytoplanktons definition. The microscopic aquatic plants freely floating on the surface of water. Freely floating on the surface of water. Freely floating on the surface of water. This is freely floating on the surface of water, and they are capable of making their own food. Capable of making their own food are called phytoplanktons. Are called phytoplanktons. Harini, have you completed? Arya, Arun Gardikayan, everybody? Any doubt, anybody, you can ask me. So phytoplanktons. Next, zooplanktons. The microscopic aquatic animals, the microscopic aquatic animals which freely floating on water, are called zooplanktons. Next, Next example of phytoplanktons. What is the example, Ra? Please respond. Phytoplanktons, algae, and zooplanktons, you can say it, protozoa. So this is all about it. So now, if it comes to here, this is all about the types of consumers, and as well as the types of consumers, like what it is: primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. And same way, small organisms which are come under producers and as well as consumers. So now, if you'll understand this, then we are going to study the next concept is, you might be understand. So the last type of organisms, producers over and consumers over. Next, who is that? Last one. That is only ways to called as what, guys? It is only called as decomposers. Understand? So decomposers. So this is the most important one in our everybody's life. Why? If there is no decomposition, then by this time this world will fill with complete dead bodies only. Is it yes or no? Will you accept that my point? So everything, every part of the world by this time is even overfloating with the dead bodies if there is no decomposers are present, because decomposers are the non-green microorganisms, like it is a bacteria, fungi, which is they are incapable of producing their own food, and they will live on the where, guys? These decomposers only live on where? They will live on only a dead and decaying matter. Do you understand? Dead and decaying matter, and they will start rotting on these bodies of plants and animals, and they will start consuming of a special type of food, that is what dead bodies. That is why these are called as decomposers. Do you understand it? So they are also under consumers only, but they won't eat the live or which is having a life, which once it will die or dead, the plant or animal, then it will start rotting on it, and it will start growing, and it will start consuming it. So that is why it is called as a type of consumer. It's a special type of consumer called as decomposers. Understand? So now those microorganisms which will break down the dead bodies of, or else the complex organic compounds present in the dead organisms, like dead plants and animals, and their products like urine, or you can take the excretory thing, like whatever it is, cow dung or animal dung, whatever it is. So they all are called as decomposers. So they will live on dead and decaying matter of plants and as well as animals, and they will use to consume food from them by decomposing the complex structures into simpler substances. That is why they are called as decompose. So the best examples of decomposers are, if you take a certain bacteria, and the well-known thing is fungi. So the fungi family, you might be noticing. What is the fungi family? The well-known fungi family, which is non-green plant, which will sustain on only dead bodies of plants. Anybody? Mushroom. Have you heard? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
So mushroom also, if you'll notice it, it will come under a decomposer. It will grow on only dead bodies of plants and all, and will start observing the food on that only. So that is what we can say. It is also a one non-green plant. So those animals are living organisms which does not have incapable of producing their own food, and they will live on dead and decaying plants and animals. They are called as decomposers. So that is the main thing you have to remember. So they only depend on whom, guys? Dead and decaying, or we used to say rotting. Understanding? So rotting plants and animals. Plants and animals, that is only ways to called as decomposers. They will live on only dead and decaying plants and animals. They are called as decomposers. So now you can write the definition, because definition is very, very important. So many times the definition is to come in exam. So that is what you can. So please all of you write. definition. The microorganisms which break down the complex organic compounds present in dead organisms like dead plants and animals, and their product like plants and animals, and their products like faeces, urine, etc., into simpler substances. Are called decomposers. So now, if we'll take example, what is the example, Arya? Certain bacteria and same way you can say fungi. So these are, we can say, examples. So you can take, for example, the bacteria which will act as a decomposers. Certain bacteria which will act as a decomposer, we used to call it as a name that is called as putrefying bacteria. Putrefying bacteria. Do you understand, Arvind, Padmarshini, Varshini? This is, so those we are saying certain bacteria. So in that bacteria which will come under the decomposers, whatever the bacteria, certain bacteria, they are called as putrefying bacteria. Okay. So now the bacteria and the fungi, they will act as a decomposers. Sir, how they will do means, so now I will explain you the process. You listen. So now, for example, this is a dead body. Let me imagine something like human or whatever it is. So this is what, guys? A dead body. Do you understand, everybody? So now these fungi or bacteria, they will come and they will start rotting on this, and they will start secreting some kind of a liquid, like semi kind of liquid. That is what. So they will start secretion of their body surfaces, and which decompose the organic matter, secreting some kind of fluids. Understand? So which will decompose the organic matter present in dead plants and animals into simpler substances. That is what. So that is we need to write. So secreting some fluids which convert complex organic matter into simpler substances, because they cannot digest the complex substances, simpler substances, and they will start liberate. This is the most important one. They will start liberate ammonia and carbon dioxide and etc. Ammonia, carbon dioxide and etc. gases. So after this, once these complex substances converting into simpler substances, then these things they will absorb and they will start surviving, and they will start like a curd. How the curd will prepare by the yeast, the same way they will absorb some of these simpler substances for their own maintenance, and they will release the remaining into the soil. So that is why it will become, soil will become fertile by decomposition of organic matters or dead bodies of plants and animals, because it is a microorganisms. They will start eating it by secreting the certain fluids which will convert the complex organic matter into simpler substances. So in that very less percentage, they will use it for their own maintenance or surviving. Remaining all will release into the soil, water, and as well as air, and it will be used by the producers again in the same like reverse cycle. So that is what plants will start surviving again. So plants will get the required nutrients by dead and decaying of plant bodies. And who is providing that? Their decomposers are making it a simpler substances to regain or reabsorb by the some another plants, so that the producers are surviving. So that is why we can say decomposers help in the recycling of materials in ecosystem. Purima, everyone, please respond. So we can say that decomposers help the plants to get the nutrients back. So that is why we can say they will help in the recycling, means dead bodies and all. If not, what is happening? No decomposers of these microorganisms, then by this time this full world is filled with the dead bodies only. So that is what? So that is the recycling of materials in ecosystem. So that is the importance of decomposers. So decomposers are having highest priority in our every food cycle, because without them, it is not possible to start with the producers, because producers, they will get the required nutrients by what? The simpler substances made by the microorganisms. So that is why we used to call it as these decomposers. Also, we can say micro consumers are also, what is another name, Ra? Anybody? So also known as what? Decomposers, also known as, please respond. Decomposers also known as saprotropes. Saprotropes, or we can say that micro consumers. They are very small in size, correct? So that is why we used to call it as micro consumers. So this is all about what is decomposers. Hope you all understand. I think nobody is having doubt. So if you all understand this, then the next class we will study what is the importance of decomposers. By this time you already know. And if the decomposers are not existed, then what will happen to this world? And later directly we'll go to the concept called as a food chain and as well as food web. Then tomorrow most probably we'll start the food chain and food web. So if we'll complete the food chain and food web, then we used to get the trophic levels, which is already we're studying from the lower classes. Like class 5th you will study the pyramid trophic levels and all. So after that, half of the lesson will be over. Then within 10 days or 1 week, by end of this month, we have to complete this lesson. So with this, I will leave you. Hope you all understand till here. If anybody is having any doubt till decomposers, you can ask me. So even tomorrow's class, I will show you the decomposers and everything. They are extremely small. We have to see with like highly magnifying materials and all, highly magnifying microscope. So that images I will try to show you in the next class. So with this, I will leave you. So thank you, everybody. Bye. We'll meet in tomorrow's class.